Today I'm joined by Chris Harper, and Chris Harper has a real interest into UFOs, and I wonder why. When was the first time, Chris, you became interested or aware of UFOs?
I would say pretty much since I've had that experience, really.
All right, and how long ago was this experience?
It was about 2010.
Right, and is this something that you took on board, or did you think you were just seeing things? Explain what the experience was, if you may.
Okay. So basically, I work nights.
Okay.
And I was coming back from work in the early morning.
Okay.
So I was coming back. At that time, I wasn't driving, so I was using a push bike, and I was coming back behind the house to put the bike away.
Yeah.
For the moment, I quite enjoy looking up at the sky and watching stars and things like that.
Okay.
And I thought I was looking at a satellite, and at the time it was quite far away, and it was just like a little white speck.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of watching it for about 10 minutes, and I didn't really kind of took in what was happening. So basically, this satellite was coming further down, and to a point that it was actually hovering just above the roof of the house.
So that's very close.
Yeah. And I was shocked.
I think anyone would be. And did you hear anything?
No, it was dead silent. It was not one sound. Nothing mechanical, not even a slight buzzing sound. It was dead quiet.
So what was the shape? Are we assuming a saucer sort of shape, and was there light with it?
It was a round shape.
You mean?
It was like a circular shape. So
Okay.
And basically it was like a very white, bright light. And because of the nature of the light, I couldn't really see any definition of shape. I couldn't see if it had any angles or depth or anything, because it was just really a bright white light. And it was one of the most surreal things I've ever seen in my life, I think.
So after that experience and trying to get your head around it all, did that sort of spark your interest in UFOs?
Yeah.
So you've done a bit of research. So have you had any more experiences since then?
Funny enough, I was thinking about this the other night, and I have seen it before. I've seen it before at a different workplace. This was about 4 years later.
So we're talking early hours. Sorry to interrupt. Early hours of the morning, that sort of thing. Are we talking?
Well, this time, yeah, maybe late evening, sort of early morning. It was between 11 to 12 at night, and basically, I've seen it go hovering past where the site I was working at.
Right.
And at the time, it didn't really kind of have the same impact as it actually being above the house. When you see it from a slight distance, and I just kind of thought, oh, it's them again.
So this second experience you had, was this craft, this light higher up, farther away? Was it sort of like a mile away or 2 mile away?
It was definitely higher up. I'd say like from maybe like a helicopter you would see from a distance.
Okay. Yeah.
But it wasn't a helicopter.
No. No, you're just trying to give me an understanding of sight and height, if we put it that way.
Yes.
And what about, you were saying earlier on that you're on holiday and you saw another craft. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been getting some surreal kind of imagery. Basically, at the beginning of this year, I was taking some photos, and an anomaly came up in one of the photos I couldn't explain.
Right. Right.
And but funny enough, I did see it go shooting past as I was taking the photo, and it did kind of make me think, maybe it's in the photo, and it was in the photo. And then later on, just last month, while I was on holiday in a different country, I was taking some photos, and another funny kind of anomaly came up within the photo.
Right.
And that kind of made me think, this is a bit weird.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're getting more and more experiences. Can you say where you were abroad? Where did you go?
Yeah, Corfu.
Corfu.
Yeah,
Okay.
Greek island. Yeah.
And were you just taking the photograph on your own? No one else was with you at this time?
I was with my friend.
Did your friend see anything?
No. Well, I didn't see anything at the time. It was only afterwards inspecting the photo.
Oh, right. So it was captured on the, was it video or still?
Still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and do you think, you know, we're talking maybe, you've got to be talking about an advanced life, you know, we've got to be tying this down at this stage, that it's a UFO, an unidentified flying object. Yeah. Do you think, you know, if they've got that sort of ability that they can perhaps tune into your thoughts, or is it just you becoming more aware of looking up at the night sky now?
To be honest, I haven't really kind of thought about that.
No, I'm just trying to preempt what people may think or say, or try to sort of query or question what you've seen. I mean, you're not the only one that's seen these things,
no.
But really to get some details out of your experiences, to give a clarification.
Yeah, I mean, it is becoming more common, and a lot of people are seeing these kind of things.
Yes.
And personally, I still don't know what it is. I don't know if it is otherworldly activity, if it's something spiritual. I can't be 100% sure. All I know it's happened. To my knowledge, it's real.
Right. I mean, the one that's quite profound is the one that was above your house.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and you were seeing it with your own eyes without it being tuned in. So I wouldn't say that, from my experience, that would have been called a spiritual experience, because you weren't expecting it in that sense, and you were just returning or going to work.
Yes.
Yeah. And once you observed this bright light, do you think they were aware that you were observing, or they must have been observing you to be that good that they came down that low and didn't crash into the house or bump into anything else? They were literally that low.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The way they were coming down, it was very slowly, and that's one of the things. I think I was almost in a daydream as I was kind of viewing it coming down and further down, slowly, until a point it was just kind of above the house. And then the realization that this is actually really happening, my heart was kind of was banging.
I can imagine it must have been. I think for a lot of people it would have been quite a shock.
Oh, wow.
So there was no noise, but just lots of bright light, and it was circular, as you describe it.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see much because the light was so bright. It just became a bright light. And then, and did it move away fast? How long was it, you know, over your roof for? I mean, are we talking 5 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute? How long was it there? Is it, because obviously it came down to where you are. So how long did that take? Was that a matter of seconds or a minute or so?
I would say it was between like a 5-minute period. The way.
Oh, right. So it's quite a long time coming from the sky coming down into where you are.
Yeah. I mean,
So you had a chance to observe it.
yeah.
So did you feel anything in your body, not a vibration, as if it was that close? Like I'm not saying it's a helicopter, but to something that would be that large. How large was it? Was it as big as the house or
Um,
smaller?
I would say it's per. I would say in compared to the width of it, I would say it
Yeah.
was about the same size as the house.
Okay, so it's not a ginormous saucer
No.
or flying saucer. It's something that would fit on the template of an average house, the roof
Yeah.
size.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't kind of engulf the house, but it was, a reasonable
Right.
size object.
So you could have said it's, as a guessing, it would be 30 feet in diameter or something like that.
Yeah, that's a reasonable guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it got to the point, obviously, if it was able to come that close, I would have assumed it was monitoring what was below it.
Well, it didn't crash into the house.
Well, that's what I mean. It's obviously come down and was able to just hover and stay in that position. So
Yeah.
I guess would you have been in line of sight?
See, I was kind of, when it was coming down and I had that realization, I slightly backed off to a corner and we were kind of watching it come down. And I was just about to run back into the house to get it, members up, family members up to get them out of the house, this thing
Right. So
crash into the
it
house.
was that worrying that you thought there could be something negative that could have been experienced, whether it crashed into the house or whether it was going to come out of its, let's say, saucer or craft.
I wasn't really concerned about anything coming out of it. I was just more worried about at the time of it crashing into the house.
Right.
But thinking about afterwards, the way it controlled its descent, slowly, this thing was in control.
Right.
It was in control of where it was moving, how it was moving, the speed. There was an intelligence to it.
Right. And obviously an ability to hover without making a noise, which I find amazing.
There was no noise. It did kind of feel a sense of eeriness to it. I think because,
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a sense that you would have picked up. And I think some people, might have, fight or flight, they would have actually run away from it. And I think most people would have been concerned as you pulled yourself out of line of sight. Now, did you go back into that line of sight to look at it more? Or do you think you were observed? I mean, it was that close to you. Do you think it sensed you?
I think so. I think it came to view me, I think.
Okay.
Because this was early morning. It was probably about 5, maybe 10 to 5 in the morning. It was around about this time of year, October, November.
Okay.
Actually, probably November. It was, winter time, but it wasn't harsh weather at the time. But it was still dark outside.
Right.
It's just really, it was
quite surreal.
Yeah.
And I mean, how has that changed the way that you think about things? This is being on your mind. I know it's giving you an interest because obviously something we don't understand. We may want to study it and look at it. Have you managed to get onto like YouTube and looked at other people's explanations of seeing what we just call UFOs at this stage?
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of viewed other people's accounts of situations were quite similar to that in terms of the object and the bright lights and the kind of eeriness to it. So, it does sound kind of familiar to this kind of experience. And there was kind of this random detail I found out, this fact. I'm not sure how true it is.
Okay.
But I found out that they did some research and they said that the most people that have been abducted or willingly gone with UFOs or alien activities, funny enough, do start with either Christopher or Chris or Christian.
Oh, right.
So there does seem to be a bit of a link with that as well, which is a bit funny.
Right. So you as a Chris thought you were probably prime target.
Yeah. Well, I
being on
thought
the
it
list.
was a bit funny and I thought, don't know.
Well, you just don't know how the link is, and obviously this is, you're trying to find a validation of why this has happened. Yeah, I mean, having these experiences, you know, are you some way looking forward to see if there's another experience, or is it just going to stay as a curiosity? You're not going to suddenly do an American trip out to Nevada, even though you're in the UK, and see, you know, where there are perhaps more sightings and places in Mexico.
No, that hasn't really kind of dawned on me. It's you never know, maybe one day.
So what does it make you think of now you've experienced that? How's that changed you? Has it changed you? Are you a deeper thinker, or is this still going to puzzle you until something else comes along?
To be honest, it was quite a surprise. It was shocking, but at the same time, it's not been shocking.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of kind of spiritual experiences happen to me since a young age. I know I'm not saying it is a spiritual experience, but I've had a lot of kind of random, random things has happened. You know,
so now we're looking at an aspect of you, not just as a person, but looking at your spiritual pathways. And do you feel that your ability to either meditate or tune in has had an influence over this craft coming close to you or running away? Do you think being spiritually minded creates that level of sensitivity, or you're broadcasting a thought more than other people? Do you think it correlates with spiritual development, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, you know, if they are very enlightened beings, that maybe that is a focus for them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really say, to be honest.
No, we're just exploring different avenues. I mean, obviously they were friendly. They didn't come down and blow your house up or drag your bike away or drag you away. And I know I'm being slightly sarcastic in it, but I'm trying to position it so people understand it was just a random experience that's happened and it's left you curious, I suppose.
Very curious. You know, I would like some answers, but I can't say I felt in danger, even though I was scared.
And why do you think that was? Do you think you were because of you were more trusting, you know, in your nature, even though it wasn't something you've experienced before?
I don't know. I just didn't feel.
You didn't feel threatened by it.
Yeah, I mean,
you were certainly shocked by it, but you weren't threatened. Although you backed off a little bit just to have so you weren't in direct line of sight.
And I think one of the reasons, you know, it backed off is because I backed off.
Oh, right.
And it only started. It sort of like came down to as far as it could come. And when I backed off, and I was just about to leg it back into the house,
right,
that's when it slowly made its descent up.
Right. Maybe I'm just postulating, really. Maybe it didn't really see you at the start. It was zooming down onto a house that happened to be your house. And obviously, whatever they're doing is covert because they're not coming in daylight hours with banners on and saying, hello, guess who we are, all that sort of thing. That they were sensitive enough to know that when you became agitated or frightened, however we see it, whatever that emotion was, that it realized it was time for it to go. So it was aware of activity on the ground.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
And what about the experience when you were at work? Were you at work at one time and you saw it or not?
Yeah. So this was a different side. This was 4 years down the line. And basically, this is between 3 buildings, and I was crossing over to one building, and then I was crossing back to the main building.
Right.
To me, it seemed like the same kind of objects. It was very bright white light, and basically, it wasn't even zooming. It wasn't going at speed. It was just slowly going past.
Yeah.
you know.
And do you think the buildings you were looking after, and if I may share, you're a security guard, is that's your job basically, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Which accounts for the late and hours, because you would probably do night shifts and things like that.
Yes.
And I suppose at the time, did you speak to anyone else at the place about it, or did you just keep that to yourself?
No, I kept that to myself. But the other reason
Okay.
was I was the only man on site, really.
Right, yeah. I was just wondering, like industrial buildings often have CCTV, so I was just wondering if anything was captured, but maybe by now that would be wiped.
To be honest, the cameras externally were more kind of facing like car parks or roads. It wouldn't have got
Right.
that kind of angle.
So it's just too up to be really caught on CCTV.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was, you know, but and the one at work, you know, you could think that maybe that was a satellite or something, but this was a lot more closer.
Yes, whereas a satellite would have a fixed trajectory going round the Earth,
Yeah.
rather than dropping down so many thousand feet. And obviously the one that was at your house came right down and was managed to be just over the house, just hovering over the house.
Because I know a lot of people do kind of mix up things like the International Space Station.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I can honestly say it's not that.
No. Well, Chris, thank you for sharing that, because it leaves many unanswered questions. And I think many people who experience what we'd call UFO activity does make them sort of look at themselves and, why were they tuning into me? Why am I experiencing this? But it certainly opens up a level of curiosity for many people. And many people are quite factual about what they see. And as we know, if we troll through the internet, we'll see pictures and videos of it. And many sort of explanations from what I call natural, normal people, not expecting these things to happen. And all of a sudden, something happens that they can't explain. And from the science perspective, they can't really understand how an object that size can be that close, not make a noise, not create any wind disturbance by its ability to hover, and be sensitive enough just to gradually elevate itself away from where it was.
And the thing was, when it left, it went straight up, like proper straight up into the sky, into space.
And did it go to out of view? Did it really disappear?
Yeah, I mean, it got to a point where it was, it was so high up, it must have literally been into space. And it was real, because it got small and smaller and smaller. And then within the middle, there was like maybe 10 or 12 smaller little lights. That was the kind of definition I actually noticed on it. And that was only when it was so high up.
So explain that to me. Are you saying there was more than one craft, or that was an extension of its propulsion, or how did you see that? Or did others come in to join it?
No, I mean, it was the same object,
craft,
but within it there was like another circular, and these were made of like miniature round lights, what went round in a circle.
Right. So some light propulsion system.
I would say so, something like that. Yeah.
So these things were attached to the craft, but you're seeing the craft from underneath. You're seeing the guts working of the system. Yeah.
And it's the only bit of definition I can actually explain of it. The rest of it was just a very large white object, like white light.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you for taking the time today to really discuss this. As I say before, it leaves many unanswered questions, but maybe other viewers might like to comment or perhaps share theirs. I mean, you're no more different than anyone else experiencing these things, but it certainly makes you think about life and the universe beyond. So, Chris, thank you for your time today. And if you do have an experience, will you come back and share it with us?
Yeah, anytime.
Great. Thank you for your time, Chris, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.